Do you have a later model XKR that lacks a little power at the low to mid-range? Well, stick around. I'll show you how I pepped up my 2000 XKR. And here is my 2000 Jaguar XKR. At nearly a quarter of a century old, it's still a stunner. Just timeless beauty. Love the lines on this car. Love driving this car. Back in the day, this was a pretty quick car. It's 4-liter, 370 horsepower, 387 foot-pounds of torque. Has a 32 valve supercharged V8, 5-speed, and can get to 0 to 60 in about 5.4 seconds, which is again pretty quick for its time. I absolutely love driving this car. It is my daily driver. I have very few complaints about it, but I do have one that we'll be addressing today, and that is its torque at the low end, low to mid-range. I just would wish it was a little bit quicker getting on the on-ramps from the stoplights. It just takes a little bit to get going. So what I'm going to be doing is upgrading the Supercharger pulley. Has a couple different options for upgrading the Supercharger. One is to get a smaller pulley on the top. We're connected to the Supercharger itself. And then the other option, which I'm going to be doing, is enlarging the pulley that's on the crank itself. So I'll be walking you through that process. All right, and this is the crank pulley that I pulled off. And again, I've got a 2000 XKR, which is the model X100 the Jaguar made from 98 to 2002. This front pulley is the one that's attached to the Supercharger, and which I will be upgrading. I'm going to be using a kit from Performance Auto. They're based out of the UK. They make a kit where you can cut off this pulley and you attach the larger pulley, and they claim that should increase the boost by about 3.5 psi. So it's roughly about 18.6% larger pulley than factory. All right. Now, of course, to do this, you're going to need a lathe, and I am fortunate enough that I do have a lathe, which I happened to pick up when I was living in the UK for a bit. So this is more of a model lathe. It just is big enough, though, to do the job here. Obviously, most people don't have a lathe in their garage, so you would want to work with someone, a mechanic or machine shop, to do this job for you. All right, and I didn't go through the process of removing the pulley from the crank. There are other videos out there you can watch that will help you on that. I will say, though, that if you're going to do this yourself, I highly recommend you to invest in one of these. So it does two things. This helps to lock the crank in place, and then this is what you use to actually pull the pulley off. I actually tried to remove it without this lock, and getting the crank to not move without damaging the pulley, which you don't want to do, is very difficult, I found anyway. So I highly recommend this. This costs about $100 on eBay, I think I got it. So, and of course, I'm probably not going to use it too much, but definitely worth the investment to remove your crank safely, and a lot quicker, probably. All right, and here I am cutting this piece off after trying to part it off with a lathe tool. Just didn't really have the right tool, so doing it the old-fashioned way, which is working fine. Here's the piece I cut off. Pretty clean cut, just using the a hacksaw and the grooves in there as a guide. And here you can see how I have found the center on this faceplate mount, which was my only option for this to fit. Could not mount it in the 3-jaw chuck. You can see how I found the center. So I would tap it and then cinch it down. So you can see that is about 3 units on this device, on this measuring tool. 3 to 4 units, which is 5/10,000ths per unit. And I think that should be sufficient. I hope I'm right. All right, here we have the pulley with the excess parted off. I have the thickness of that faced at 7 millimeters, so that's all set. I need to take about 0.77 millimeters off the diameter here to get it to 143.15. That's what I'm aiming for. Here you can kind of see how I secured this to the faceplate. See those 4 bolts I've got going through there. Obviously I want to be really careful with this so that I do not bump it, but I got it secured there pretty darn well, so I don't think it's going anywhere. All right, put it on the lathe. Wanted to take it off, by the way, just to get a real accurate measurement, so you can kind of see where I'm at. This is actually this is where I'm going for. This is the target here, so you can see I just have just a hair to go and this thing's going to be ready. I also added a little chamfer here. Hopefully you can see. I think one of the things that I would say, in looking at this photo, you kind of get the sense that you turn down the edge right here until all those grooves are gone. The reality is that you will see a little bit of a groove from that last whatever it's called, groove. So I almost went too deep initially because I was assuming that I would just cut this down until it was smooth, there were no more grooves, but don't make that mistake. As you can see in the photo, actually, you can see a little bit of a groove still there. All right, so now I need to heat this up to 120 degrees Celsius, which is about 250 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, this is the moment of truth. Smells a little bit. And here we go. I'll put this up just like so. And look at that. Just like they said, it's a little bit of a loose fit right now. I'm going to let it just cool down and find it where it needs to be. Well, we got lucky because this is now cooled down and it is on there solid. There is no play at all. So we make sure to align these holes so they're over the solid part of the hub. There's some grooves there. Can't tap through that. And I'll let this cool down just a little bit more, and then I will start tapping. All right, managed to get this out of the kitchen before my wife got home, and now this pulley is on here secured. So it's cooled down, and I think we're good to go. So on to the next stage, tapping these holes. This takes a M8 1.25 millimeter tap, and that requires a 17/64 drill bit. And so I will get a punch, get that centered. It says just to use this is a template, and then here are the bolts that go in there. So you can see it's not a super tight fit. And I'll put on some Loctite red to cinch those down. All right, so at this point I can finally remove the faceplate. I did not do that up until now, just in case there's any reason to put this back on the lathe. But we are good to go, so off it will come. All right, with the faceplate off, you can see this is where I seated it up against the faceplate. We've got all 4 holes drilled. Now we're going to move on to tapping. Pretty well centered. And I think I'm real happy with that. All right, here I am tapping my 3rd hole. I've already tapped these, this one and this one. And just taking my time, making sure to back out often, and yeah, go on. All right, I have torqued down these bolts. I put in some Loctite red, torqued them to about 22 pounds. I couldn't find actually any instructions on what the torque setting should be. But for this size bolt, that's typically where you want to torque it to. So it's on there solid, and this phase is now done. So next will be to install that. All right, so all I've taken is this bolt and a washer that fits into the collet area there, so it doesn't go through. See how it fits there, and then attached this end to my drill. You see it's wobbling now as it's not really centered. The washer is not centered yet. And it speeds up, it kind of finds its, give it a shake. And it finds its center. I realize you can't really see from this. All right, and there's the Supercharged V8 in all its glory, which I much prefer, being able to see this versus a big sheet of plastic that you see in modern sports cars. and I've installed the Supercharger pulley. See down there. All seems fine. The kit comes with a belt as well, since we've got a larger pulley. And so let's get this warmed up and take it for a test drive. See how she does from the start. Oh yeah. Woo. Nice. Now I've read in the forums, people say that it feels like this adds a liter to the engine, and I would tend to agree with them. Definitely more power at that low to mid-range, which is where it was lacking before. This car has no problems at the upper RPMs. It can cruise all day at 90. But it's always just been a little sluggish at the start, and this pulley upgrade really addresses that. This car is so much fun to drive. I just love it. Well, I hope this video has been helpful to you, and I know there's not many XKR owners out there still that are tinkering on their car, but like I said, it's a joy to ride, and I'm glad to be able to make this upgrade. And consider doing it yourself if you've got an XKR and are looking for a little bit more juice. Thanks for watching.